Awesome. So hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to this Wednesday morning session of our 2022 PD Extravaganza. My name is Grant Kastner. I work for Extempore as our community manager. And with me today, we have the wonderful newly joined employee for us with Extempore, Jessica Sloan, who's going to be talking about implementing Extempore at the district level, first steps and best practices with your district. So Jess, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Grant. Welcome, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for being here. My name is Jessica Sloan, and I work at Extempore, as Grant said, and my role is really to help districts with implementation and adoption after they have decided to move forward with Extempore. In my prior life, I worked for 14 years here in Texas in public education. I taught everything from bilingual kindergarten all the way up to high school Spanish, and then moved into the role of Director of World Languages in Richardson ISD. So today I want to share a little bit about Richardson ISD's story with Extempore, some things that I learned along the way, and if you have any questions, just feel free to add them to the chat so I can make sure and get you an answer. So a little bit about Richardson ISD. It is a public school district in Dallas County that serves almost 40,000 students. They have a very diverse population and 55 campuses. And the World Languages Department there consists of about 60 teachers who teach 4 languages: French, Japanese, Latin, and Spanish. So I think some of you probably have encountered these in your own district. We had a lot of challenges. And while some of those challenges were more pressing than others, and some, I never had the power to change, like having 37 students and French 1, or all of the lovely things that COVID brought and that changed our classrooms. And the traditional experience in our world language rooms. It was time to do something. These challenges kind of just kept popping up, whether it was, pressure from a campus administrator to have more flexibility within our classrooms. Like I said, large class sizes. We didn't have a mechanism to do interpersonal speaking for our assessments or daily practice. And then I heard time and time again from our teachers that if they wanted to practice, they wanted to practice AP tests in an AP format, and we didn't have a mechanism to use the constraints that College Board puts on the AP exam. So another huge part of that was the academic integrity. Students using Google Translate, students copying, things like that to kind of control the integrity of our students. We didn't really have a good handle on that. And so a lot of these challenges compounded. And like I said, I think they're challenges that a lot of people are dealing with. So hopefully some of these things are relatable. It really came down to we were losing instructional time and opportunities for practice because of these challenges. So, and mind you, I wasn't building this case for myself. Teachers voiced their frustration when they encountered these roadblocks, and we had kind of hit a tipping point last year. And so often when I was in Richardson, we'd come back to this graphic to focus on student learning and what we want our students to do. If our state standards determine our goals, right, our curriculum, we finally got to that point with our curriculum revised and edited. We had solid performance assessments, but I didn't feel confident in the teachers having the tools to execute their instruction or their assessment. So really, like, our legs of the triangle were not solid. We were really solid curriculum wise, but we really needed like the tool that was going to help us with both the daily practice, but then also the assessment piece. And I heard from one of our lead teachers how they asked me how we expect our students to gain proficiency, a proficiency level every single year. How can we expect them to pass AP Japanese or even pass these awesome curriculum, like awesome assessments that we had written, if we're not practicing in the way that they are assessed? So the writing was on the wall at this point. Some of the considerations I've put here that we took into mind, our evaluation kind of came down to two parts, operational and instructional. And, as educators, we're all driven by the student outcomes and instruction. But in my experience, it's those operational pieces that will really shoot the wheels off. And so I thought if I could handle the operational part of it, then I could assemble a team of teachers that could help with the instructional part of it. So they could give, the input for the specific features and functionalities that they were wanting. And then that group would become the evaluation committee that would soon pilot Extempore. And I want to just take a moment here. I think people in this role, often the decision makers for our world languages or ESL bilingual department, often we're not the ones that do a lot of purchasing and adopting of different vendors. So in that, I would really recommend reaching out to if you have an instructional technology department for support, and also purchasing. They were really helpful in securing funding. And then as far as like the tech specs, of course, the technology department. So those things, like, I would encourage you not to overlook. That's very important. And then the instructional piece came obviously like second nature to the teachers. We really broke that down into 2 questions. Is it useful and is it usable? And the teachers developed their own criteria for those things. Like, what did we want this new tool to do? And then what were our goals using that tool? And then, as we know, I feel like in education, a lot of times we have new products, and they're not always easy to use. And so we really wanted something that was usable for both teachers and students. So those were the categories that we used, and just to keep things simple, and I think it paid off. So moving into the pilot and evaluation, I can't stress enough how important it is to choose the right team of teachers to pilot really anything, but specifically a technology tool. I wasn't looking for the most, techie people necessarily, but I did want to build this team that was going to pilot Extempore. I wanted them to have different experience levels in teaching. I wanted them to come from different levels, from junior high, from high school, different languages represented. Obviously, that was huge. And then, this group is the key to creating the buy-in down the road. And I really wanted people who were going to try something new, and they would be willing to try, and somebody that would be trusted by their colleagues, right? We didn't want necessarily someone that was just going to steamroll people. So I think that that's one of the most important things that you can do if you are piloting or doing an evaluation of Extempore, is being a very strategic team. Our expectations were to use Extempore regularly for daily practice, testing the features. The expectation for our test group was that they would provide very clear and honest feedback. And I wanted to capture that feedback from the group, but also from the students that were using it. So when I had a break in the day, often I drop in on those classrooms when I knew they would be using it, sometimes to be, a fly on the wall, and then sometimes to join in with a group of students to kind of hear their thoughts. A lot of times, I think, it would have been easy for me to say, oh, I love Extempore, I want it. But without that buy-in from the teachers and then ultimately the students as well, it wouldn't have been very successful if it was only a top-down decision. So the final step there, oh, and I'll go back to the feedback. So the feedback really was formal and informal. We had a variety of like Google forms that we used just to check in to see how things were going, if there were any lingering questions that we could reach out and get answers to. I was really interested in frequency of use and those types of things. And then at the end, we had a final evaluation comparing all of the different criteria that the teachers had come up with in that first initial meeting, going back to like the is it useful, is it usable? And then all of the different features, time constraints, test security, and so forth. So what I've learned here is there are a couple of keys to a very successful implementation. As the decision maker, as the person that's making this decision, I think it's the utmost importance to hold tight to the vision that you had in the beginning. We had all of those challenges that were driving us in this direction. And it was really important to remember those and also to be able to communicate those to the stakeholders, whether that be the teachers when we do the kickoff, evaluators are the assistant principals that evaluate those teachers. They're always very interested in what's happening in the classrooms. And so being able to articulate the reasons that we move forward with Extempore and kind of the challenges that we were hoping to overcome, that was very important. I don't think that you can over communicate, and always going back to the why really, really helped us out. I think also as the director, coordinator, whatever your role may be, it's integral to the success is that you set clear expectations. And I'll say in the case of Richardson, the expectation is that all of our common assessments, speaking and writing assessments, are done in Extempore. That's it. That is our district platform. The tests are there, the assessments are there, and that's how the teachers give the test. That is the expectation. On top of that is that they're using Extempore as daily practice, right? So there really isn't an excuse not to be using it. And that kind of brings me to the third point is like, I feel like when this is a lot of work for a school district or a school to take on. And I think when you're planning to have this goal in mind is like, what can I do to set up the wins for my people? The reason, and I think when we were evaluating Extempore, that was a major reason why we moved forward, is because of these top two bullet points. The first being the commons. The teachers absolutely loved that there was pre-made content that they were able to search by language and level. That sets people up for such an easy win, saying that there's already content in there. All you have to do, it's like a plug and play. All you have to do is execute with your students. That is a quick and easy win. And for those more apprehensive teachers that you have, if you can set them up for success right off the bat, you're going to have a much easier time to bringing them over to the other side. I spoke a little bit about this before in terms of common assessments. All of those have been created and are accessible in Richardson, like District Commons. So if you're district or school has common summative assessments. That's something that we're working with now to offer to help you to develop those assessments and then have them appear in your account so that teachers essentially are not having to recreate the wheel. They're just able to see that content and import it right into their account. So that helped a lot with the alignment and making sure that everyone was, holding tight to our curriculum and giving the same assessments. So that was a huge bonus, that there was some kind of it was a way for us to really tighten things up within the department. I think also a way to set your people up for a huge win is giving them time to create and collaborate. Extempore is an extremely collaborative platform. Whether I'm coming up with, a speaking for my practice over global challenges, if I come up with that, I can share just so easily by a link to one of my colleagues. And at the same time, that colleague could send it back to me. We say it a lot in education, but working smarter, not harder. Collaborating in those ways, I think really, instead of working kind of in the isolation of the old school mechanical lab drop down, this really was one of the big drivers that everyone mentioned in their feedback, that they really liked the way that Extempore allowed for them to collaborate. And so I think when we're coming up with an implementation plan, we always want to build in time for creation, but then also think through ways to get your teachers to do the collaboration. And then thirdly, sharing the buy-in. If you have those teachers that are so gung-ho that the minute they get in there, they're just going to go wild and have tasks and everything's organized and wonderful. We want to share that. We want them to be sharing their enthusiasm with maybe those that are more apprehensive. And then also, I think that goes back to the evaluator. I always want people on the campuses to know when something new and great is happening in a language classroom. And so sharing those successes and celebrating, I think is very, very important. And then also the ongoing support and available resources. We at Extempore, we're not going to leave you out to dry. We're going to be here for you. There's a multitude of ways that we can offer you support, whether that's, using the chat feature within the platform, reaching out to me, anyone else that works here to offer support and resources. The goal is really that you don't have any teachers with unanswered questions. So we want to make sure that that part is very clear for teachers and reiterated, so they don't feel lost and discouraged. We want everyone to have a good experience, and you have a good experience if you are well prepared. So those, I think, are the top 4. And moving in to the role of director, I think there are a couple of things that are under kind of that charge. And the first being, the more you put in, the more you get out. Like anything, right? If you're willing to kind of put the time up front, you're going to reap the rewards in the end. I mean, that specifically in talking about the common assessments. If you have those, let's work together so we can create the commons and make it an easier way for your teachers to access that content. Sharing opportunities for professional learning. Anytime you have your group together to, give a 5-10 minute plug, showcasing, something that someone's done within Extempore. Any updates that come from Extempore about the platform, maybe there's new content, a new feature that's been released, sharing that with your teachers, and again, involving the evaluators in the process, letting them know, what's available. So when they're going around and doing learning walks in classrooms, they are equipped with some background information and they can ask your teachers. But I really think the investment is key here. Secondly, to remove the obstacles when you can, to create things like a sharing protocol. If you don't have common assessments, but you still want your teachers to work together, if you can come up with some kind of a protocol. I know we had teachers specifically creating like AP simulated conversation prompts, and out of the group, one person took unit 1 and was working on all the conversations for that. Well, after they did the conversations, they realized their friend, could do the AP conversations tasks for the second unit. And so then they could just swap. So what does that look like? I like to have the plan. I don't like to just leave it up to like chance. And so developing that strategic plan for how teachers can share content is huge. And then also in curriculum writing, in a perfect world, every teacher would be creating content. We know that's not always how things start off. So if there's a way when you are going back in the summer to do curriculum revisions or curriculum writing, how you can involve Extempore in that. Meaning, if you're looking over assessments and what have you, like, can we have those curriculum writers go ahead and develop the tasks in Extempore so that's done, right? If we already have those formative assessment, or if we already have the summative assessments, can we go back and like maybe create some tasks that would give them the practice to prepare them for that assessment, right? The kind of things like that and planning ahead. And taking things off the teacher's plate is always the goal, right? So however I can do that with curriculum writing and then sharing, I think makes everybody's life easier. Sharing successes again is huge. And last, this is something that I hadn't anticipated, but really noticed during that pilot, is that, the last 2 years, to no surprise to anyone, have been really, really hard in education. And I'm sure a lot of you have had the same experience. And, there are a lot of things we can do to improve the situation. And there are a lot of things that are out of our control. But if there's anything that I know, it's that if I walk into a teacher's classroom and I see kids learning, and they're able to produce the target language, and they're, having fun and they're communicating, that validates teachers, right? There's nothing better as a teacher than to see your students like achieve the goal. And so whatever I could do as a director to make that happen, that's what I wanted to do. And so Extempore offers a lot of benefits. One of those benefits is there's not a lot to manage as a director. Like there's just not a lot. I'm not managing accounts. I'm not managing. All of that is very seamless and not something I have to manage. I think as a director or a coordinator or whatever your role is, it really allows you the time to focus on the instructional piece and the teachers feeling validated, finally hearing kids doing the interpersonal speaking, right? And not kind of running around the room sweating. Those types of things that became possible really validated the teachers. And so I would encourage you to, if you are in a situation like I was, adopting a new tech tool like Extempore, that you would partner with us so we can kind of talk you through some of these points and make sure that we have a solid implementation plan for your school or your district. I've been talking a very long time. I don't know if anyone has any questions or if I can help clarify anything. Don't be shy. I don't think so. So just in closing, what I will say is now in this role, I love working with the different districts and schools that are using Extempore or about to start, so we can help develop a good plan for you. Again, I've been there. Now you know the nitty gritty of the story. And so if you have any doubts or would like to chat, you are always welcome to reach out. And I look forward to speaking with you, whether that is about curriculum, rubric evaluations, whatever that may be. Reach out to me and I would love to hear from you.
Jess, thanks. Thank you so much for the lovely presentation on getting to use Extempore within your district and implementing it and onboarding and all of the nitty gritty stuff that you have to do. It was really, really informative. Make sure if you're here, please do take some time. Jess, I don't know if you want to do me a favor and just copy that and paste that link into the chat for everyone to access a bit quicker. Fill out the feedback form, leave some feedback, let us know what you think, and of course, get a chance to enter into our giveaway. Any final thoughts or questions? If not, I will stop recording. Thank you all for attending. Be sure to attend our other presentations here at our PD Extravaganza 2022, and we'll see you around.